Hey there, fellow travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today with the Keukenhof in the Netherlands. And today we're going to talk about are some of the mistakes that tourists make when they come to the Netherlands. And I feel the most important thing to bring up when we start off talking about mistakes is how tourists sometimes take the Dutch directness the wrong way. Look, the Dutch are very efficient. They're very practical. They don't mince words. So if they have something to say, they'll say it, and they don't really care if it impacts anybody's feelings because they're just stating their facts to them, and they don't take any meanness out of it. They don't mean any meanness from it, but that's just how it is. And so when tourists come here, they kind of go, oh, the Dutch are so rude. Oh, the Dutch, I don't know about them. Look, the Dutch, probably some of the funniest people you're going to meet in Europe. Like their humor, it's this dry humor, and you're like, wait, was that sarcasm? Oh yes, it was. So if the Dutch talks to you and you think it's sarcasm, it probably is. And yeah, you don't really have to worry about not understanding them, because another mistake people think is like, what do they speak here? Is it German? No, for the love of God, please do not call the Dutch German, because they're not. Because the Germans will say, oh, Dutch is just German with a hot potato in your mouth. But the Dutch will say, no, German is just Dutch with a hot potato in your mouth. But in all honesty, it is two distinctly different cultures, different places, different vibes, different foods, different stuff. So I want to give you those out of the way first, because I think those are two of the big mistakes tourists make when they start off their vacation here in the Netherlands. Now, another mistake to deal with the Dutch people, I think, is if you're ever late. Look, the Dutch, they have schedules. Like if you want to hang out with your Dutch friend, you need to let them know a few weeks before when they might have time, because the Dutch schedule everything out. And what's cool is once you make a plan with them, you don't have to remind them. They'll be there at 8 p.m. on Wednesday night. It's taken care of. But the thing is if you're one of these places that like to, we're meeting at 8, so I show up at 9 or 8:15. No, you're on time. Not early, you're exactly on time. So don't make that mistake. And I think kind of going along with that schedule kind of thing, don't make the mistake of scheduling multiple warm and hot meals with Dutch people, because here it's not uncommon that people just have one hot meal for a day. Like maybe you have your meatballs, or maybe you'll have your stamppot, or maybe you'll have, some of the Indonesian food that's here, because there's some really good Indonesian food. But that's the thing. It's usually one hot meal, either lunch or dinner. And so what they'll do instead with their cold meals is you'll just have bread and cheese. Like seriously, like a cheese sandwich. Not like thick cheese, just a couple slices of cheese to your bread. That's your good to go. That's kind of your typical lunch thing. And you'll see that with the Dutch. When they come to work for lunch, they'll pull out their cheese sandwich. They'll be on the train, they'll pull out their cheese sandwich. They're here at the Keukenhof, they pull out a cheese sandwich. But that's the thing is, don't make the mistake of doing multiple warm meals with locals, because they'll be like, why would you have so many? But it kind of might explain why the people are so thin, though they have some really fortifying foods. Now, another mistake you might make when you come here to the Netherlands is thinking that the locals won't share their opinions if they overhear you. Whenever I do my videos, whenever I'm talking to my family and stuff, it's not uncommon if there's something that a local doesn't agree with, they might put their 2 cents in. Not trying to be mean, but just saying, oh, you really think bitterballen are really that good? I'm like, yeah, I really do. They're really that amazing. Huh, I don't think so. They'll just walk off. But it's kind of funny, so don't make the mistake of thinking they won't join in the conversation. One mistake you should never make when you come to the Netherlands is having beer without foam on the top. If there's no foam up there, you don't want to drink it. You want new beer. You want fresh beer. So it's going to have some foam on it, all right?
Oh, I don't like that.
And you get a little mustache, too. See? Perfect combination. Now, what about some money mistakes that tourists make when they come to the Netherlands? I think, one, make sure you at least have some coins in case you want to use a public toilet, because sometimes there are public ones and you can use them at a restaurant. Sometimes there's not, and you got to find a public toilet, so you're probably going to need some coins to pay for it. So be aware of that. Another thing is, it's one of these kind of bipolar kind of things where some places are like cash only and other places are like, no, credit card only. So do be aware of that you're probably gonna have to need some cash, but in some places they'll literally say no cash at all. Like if you're at the Keukenhof, there is no cash allowed. You're using credit cards for everything, for your tickets, getting your snacks, getting your souvenirs. It's all with card. Another money mistake I see tourists make, and not so much anymore because the price has been adjusted accordingly, more or less, is that tourists get upset if they don't get their 1 or 2 pennies back, like the euro cents back, because they're like, wait, it was 97 cents, where's my 3 cents? So they do it as rounds. So sometimes you win and you get a couple extra cents because they give you 5 cents back, and sometimes you lose and you don't get as many coins. But I've seen a few tourists get a little annoyed with that, but that's just how the bills are here, that's how things are here. And speaking of bills, big bills. Unless you're going to go buy a computer, big bills aren't super well accepted around here. And I know I talked about some places only take cash and some places only take card. Have 20s, 50s. Don't go for the hundreds or anything bigger than that, because it's not really going to be useful for you. So do be aware the smaller bills are going to be a better thing to have. Now, another big mistake that tourists make when they come here to the Netherlands is just thinking that Netherlands is Amsterdam and Amsterdam is the Netherlands. Look, is New York City a true representation of the US? Well, there's some things that are, but there's so much more there. And the Netherlands is no different. So when you're here, use the public transportation, go around the country. Yeah, come to the Keukenhof so you can see this in the spring. Or go down to Rotterdam and see like a modern city when you're there. Or head over to Leiden, go to The Hague, go to, Haarlem, Utrecht. There's places that can be day trips or a little bit farther away when you are in Amsterdam. So don't make that mistake that, I saw Amsterdam, I saw the Netherlands. No, when you go around, you see a very different country. Like going to the coast, yeah, go to the coast and rent a cabin when you're there. It's actually a really fun time. I've done it before. Even when the weather's not fantastic, it's still a lot of fun. So please don't just stay in Amsterdam. Get out there, explore more. There's windmills all over the country. Why not check them out? So another mistake tourists make is they think the tulips are going all the time when you're here in the Netherlands. That is not true. The tulip season basically goes from the end of March to the beginning of May. That's when you can get things here. And don't make the mistake of not pre-booking your tickets to come here to the Keukenhof, because it is gorgeous with all the stuff here. But the tulips, there's a season for those. So that's when you're going to see the fields of it when you see those pictures and those postcards. So if you're coming in the summer or in the winter, you're not going to have that kind of view. So don't make the mistake of thinking you're going to see that. So that's why I'm saying is don't make the mistake of signing up for a tour that promises tiptoeing through the tulips when it's not tulip season. Well, then we have some biking mistakes we need to talk about when tourists come here to the Netherlands. And I think one of the mistakes people make is they think biking is just a fun pastime, something you can do. No, here in the Netherlands, biking is your way you get to work, you get your kids to school, it's how you bring your groceries home, it is how you get around. And the country is very flat, so it's very easy to ride, but it is much more of a thing you need to know the rules of the road. That's why if you're first coming in, maybe just pay attention to how people are riding, the hand signals they're using, how they cross over, because you realize they're going to have different lights you have to know when you're going to go through, so do be aware of that, because you don't want to bash into somebody. So just know that it's not just hop on the bike and go. Now, there are places you can do that if you want to do more of a relaxing bike excursion when you are here. Like if you go to the Keukenhof in like April, late March, April, early May, you go there to see the tulip fields. Yeah, you can rent a bike and just ride around the fields. It's more of a relaxing kind of thing. When you're in the countryside, you can be a bit more relaxing, I feel, when you do that, and in the smaller towns. But it is one of those things you have to take a little bit more seriously, not just lackadaisical, la la la, I'm riding my bike, I'm riding my bike. No, it's got to be much more, paying attention. Another thing I think people don't realize when you got a bike here, the mistake is getting a fancy bike. You don't need a fancy bike. Notice all these bikes, there's no fancy bikes here. You get that, more likely to get stolen, okay? So just have a bike that works and you'll be okay. And I think that's another mistake people make is they take whatever bike the bike rental place gives you. Hop on the bike, see if it fits you right, see if it works well. If it doesn't, turn back around it. Even if you only go on a block, come back and check it out. Be like, hey, this isn't working, something's wrong. Because you don't want to end up riding for a few miles and all of a sudden the chain comes off or something happens like that. So do be aware. But I had this mistake. Don't feel that you have to be fit to ride a bike when you're here in the Netherlands. As long as you can ride a bike, you can enjoy riding your bike here because it is so flat that you never have that uphill huffy puffiness. If you're a chubby traveler like me, you can enjoy it no problem, all right? Now, another safety thing I have to talk about when you come to the Netherlands are the stairs. Because here, the stairs can be more like ladders because back in the day, I guess they got taxed by how wide the house was. So they made them thin, so the stairs had to be very steep. So sometimes it feels like a ladder. So I know I talked about the mistake of too much luggage, but honestly, for a safety thing, you need to be careful on these stairs because I've seen my kids fall down them and chip a tooth and bust his head open. I've seen my mom fall down them. I've slipped down them before, so do be safe because that is one of the safety things you need to realize that you need to take care of when you're here in the Netherlands. Now, continuing on with those kind of food mistakes, I think it's also important to realize is don't make the mistake of thinking you're going to have a late dinner when you're here in the Netherlands. They like to eat earlier. We're talking 5:30, 6 p.m. at night. That's more of a typical dinner time, which also means that a lot of the restaurants are closed at 10 o'clock at night. Now, if you're in Amsterdam, you're going to find stuff later, but if you're in smaller towns and other cities, early dinner is the way to go because the stuff gets closed. Now, another mistake I'm going to put together with this is, if you're not going to have the 2 hot meals a day and all these other things, I think it's important for me to talk about this mistake. Don't make the mistake of not going to Febo. Look, vending machine food is fantastic here. Having the croquette, having the bami, basically anything that's deep fried and stuffed with something, you'll love it when you're here. And it's a mistake that people don't do because they see like a vending machine kind of store and they're thinking, oh, why would I eat hot food from a vending machine? No, that is the snack way to do it. You want to do that, okay? Get those. My favorite are bitterballen. It's a snack thing, but croquette, there's just think ragu-y beefy insides, deep fried? Yes. Bechamel cheese mixed in there? Yes. Deep fried. Oh, the bami, that's noodles basically covered in deep fried. Look, don't make the mistake of skipping out on it because you think, oh, vending machines are below me. No, here, it's definitely part of the scene. Now, a couple of little safety mistakes I think tourists need to remember when they're here. One, don't make the mistake of walking in the bike lane, standing in the bike lane, try and get a picture in the bike lane, because bikes here are a thing, and I see tourists almost get nailed every single day because they wander out and they think it's just a normal road or sidewalk. No, remember, some places red is dead because red is the bike lane, but not everywhere. So make sure, don't make the mistake of just crossing the street. Always look multiple times, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Not for the cars, well, yes, for the cars and the trams and buses, but more for the bikes. So a mistake the tourists make in the Netherlands is when they get these bitterballen. These are probably the best. It's like a beef creamy amazingness inside, then coated and fried. It is awesome. But usually when you get them, they just come out of the fryer, so they're insanely hot inside, and people just bite right into them. Don't do that. You might want to crack it a little bit, like, whoops, like I popped mine a little bit to get some of the heat out of there. Also, dunk. Don't forget to dunk. Don't make the mistake of not dunking in the mustard, because the mustard here is really good. But yeah, like this can be super hot, so do be careful, because like little kids will go after them right away and they'll burn their mouths. Or big kids like myself will totally burn their mouths really bad because these things are really good. Or see on the inside. This is great creamy goodness. Well, I love that. Another mistake I want to point out is don't make the mistake of thinking they sell coffee in the coffee shops. You want to go to a cafe for coffee. The coffee shops are what sell other substances. Now, another mistake I think is important to mention when it comes to the coffee house culture, when you do come here to the Netherlands, I would say this: don't make the mistake of thinking you know how things are going to hit you. If you haven't experienced it here, it might be different from what you've had back home. I myself, I do not partake in any of this stuff, so I don't really know how it hits. But I know the importance of talking to the people that work there. They'll let you know how strong it is, how it's going to hit you, because sadly, I've seen a number of tourists who really got messed up because they had a space cake. And they go, oh, I'm not feeling anything right away. And then they ate another space cake and still not feeling it. So they ate like 3. And then 45 minutes later, when it all hits, they're a complete mess. Okay, so I think that's why sometimes people fall in the canals. So do be careful with that. So I want to put that mistake out there. I know it's not usually something I talk about. It's not something I do, but you know what? I know that's what tourists do when they're here. And so I don't want you to not to be prepared. And I want you to be safe. Okay, so be safe with this. Okay, go with a friend if you're going to go. Don't go alone. I want you to be safe. Now, another mistake tourists make when they come to the Netherlands is not realizing you can use your tap and go credit card or your Google Pay or your Apple Pay to take public transportation. You don't have to try to figure out the little kiosk. You can buy tickets there, no problem. But you can actually just tap and go. You see right there, you put your thing down, boom, the door is open for you, and then you go through. The other mistake people need to realize is you gotta tap it on the way out as well. That's how they decide how much you're gonna get charged. And this will work on public transportation. So if you wanna take the metro, if you wanna take the tram, you wanna take the buses, you wanna take the trains around the country, you tap in and tap out. Now, sometimes they have those gates, so you know, oh, I tap, it lets me out. When I come back out, I have to tap again to get out. But sometimes there's just like a pole, and so you gotta tap the pole when you go in, and then tap the pole when you get out. Same thing if you're on the subway. Same thing if you're taking the bus. You tap it when you get on the bus, you'll see the little things there. You tap it, then when you're getting off, tap it again, so you charge you that way. Otherwise, they're probably gonna give you a lot bigger fare. So just have a heads up. But yeah, it makes life so much easier getting around here. And I think that's another mistake people get. They get scared off by the public transportation here in the Netherlands. It is so easy to get around. You can take day trips anywhere around the country because the public transportation network is so in depth with the trains, the buses, all kinds of stuff. Yeah, sometimes it's a little late here and there, but overall it's a fantastic experience, and it's really, I would say, like, the value for the money is actually really good too, so you don't feel like you're spending a lot to see a lot. Okay, so don't be scared to do that public transportation, to explore more than just here in Amsterdam. There's more to the country, but I'll get to that later. Now, another little small mistake or something I just want to note to you. I told you, make sure you just tap in and out. You can do that with your tickets. It's not a big deal. But I will say certain trains, sometimes they say make sure you're not making the mistake of not looking to see what train you're going to be on, because sometimes you're going to buy your ticket direct. You might be on an intercity direct service, like this one I took from Rotterdam, which might be a little bit more than if you take the NS, the kind of standard service. So just have a heads up for that. Now, another mistake I think tourists make is when they come to the Netherlands, once they get outside of Amsterdam, they kind of don't worry about their safety. They don't worry about their usual tourist issues and things like that. And I don't want you to make that mistake. Don't forget to, take care when you're traveling around, whether it's in Amsterdam, whether it's here in Rotterdam or going around, because there are pickpockets. I mean, when I was on the train down here from Amsterdam, they actually had a warning on the intercom about a pickpocket that was pickpocketing people on the train while we were going. I was like, huh, interesting. But it's one of those things you just need to take care of when you are, traveling in the Netherlands. Yes, it is a relatively safe country, especially if you're going to the smaller towns, but that doesn't mean to make the mistake of not doing your basic safety when you travel. Now, another thing I think is important for tourists to realize is don't make the mistake of taking pictures of the ladies working behind the windows, I say, if we're looking at Amsterdam or other parts of the country and the red light districts and stuff, because you don't do that. That would be a mistake. I know you're like, oh, I want to have a memory of this. Oh my gosh, we don't have that back home. Yeah, just buy the postcard, because there might be one of the postcard or something like that, but don't take the pictures. That would be a mistake for you to do. Now, another thing I think people really miss out on, and they make a mistake not doing when they come to the Netherlands, is doing a canal or a boat ride when you're here. And yes, you can do the canal tours in, Amsterdam, but you can rent boats. I mean, you can rent your own boat when you're there to go around, or when you're in some of the other parts of this country where there's the canals, you can take canal tours and boat tours and stuff. And I think that's one of the things people don't really think about. They know about the biking, and yes, you can rent a bike and go around, but you can rent a boat too, or get a boat to take you around, which is really a nice, fun way to relax and see the countryside when you are here, but also to see the towns. So if you have an opportunity, don't pass it up. And I'm not just talking about boating. I'm talking about any kind of water thing you can do when you're here. There is tons and tons of coastline here in the Netherlands you can go to. Yes, Dutch beach resorts, they exist, and you can actually have a good time there. So don't make the mistake of leaving the water out of your trip to the Netherlands. Though they did build all those dikes to keep it out, but don't let it keep out of your vacation. Now, before you head to the airport, I do want to mention another mistake some tourists do make, sadly, and that is they forgot to take out some of their souvenirs that they bought at some shops, some coffee shops in the Netherlands. Look, they have a special place for you at the airport if you try to take those things. So don't try to take anything that's not your clogs or your porcelain or some of your other normal tourism kind of stuff, souvenirs, because the other stuff, yeah, you can get in trouble for that, okay? So don't think because it was legal here, it's legal everywhere when you take it to travel, okay? Honestly, it's just so easy to get around this country with the trains. I'm here in Leiden now, and as I walk out, I realize there's another mistake I don't want you to miss out on, and that is the mistake that tourists don't eat herring. Look, the locals love herring. Young, old, men, women, it doesn't matter. Herring is the thing here. There's different ways you can eat it, but you should try it. And yes, you can have it just plain, or you can have it with the pickles, the onions on it as well. You can do it where they drop it in your mouth, or you can be like a normal person, just have it cut up and then just use a toothpick to pick it out. But yeah, it's a mistake not trying herring when you're here, because it's one of those things that's really a traditional thing that people do have, and you see these things all around. So grab one when you're there. If you don't like it, well, you add a few euros, big deal. But you tried something, because it would be a mistake not to have herring when you're here in the Netherlands. So I think a mistake that tourists make when they come to the Netherlands, and I know I've talked about this before, is how hard it is to really get to know them, but the Dutch will really open up to you. They will talk to you, but you have to make the point. You have to do the dank u wel, which is thank you very much. Little things like that will get them to go, hey, you're trying. And that's how you're going to meet the locals when you're here. They're not going to go out of their way. I'm not going to lie to you about that. They are very much a keep to themselves. You're not my friend. I don't know you. I'm not going to waste my time with you kind of people. Hence why they come across a little bit rude to some people. But honestly, once you make a Dutch friend, like they're with you, like they're like ride and die with you too. It's like when I think of my German friends, like they hate you forever. Then once you're friends, it's ride or die. I mean, that's the thing that's cool about the Dutch. And the thing is, they will share with you. And if you want to ask them a question, you can ask them direct questions. Like, what do you drink here? Why are you like this? What do you think about these people? They will tell you. There's no like political correctness or anything. It's just honest to goodness, like, here's what it is. And that's what's about the Dutch. They're practical, they're efficient, and they're honest. And that's one thing that some people like really get upset about. But I got to tell you, it can be very refreshing when you're here, because when you meet a Dutch person, you make a Dutch friend. Kat, I'm looking at you, buddy. You really know that, hey, they care, and they're good people. So something to think about. A mistake that tourists make when they drink Geneva or Geneva is realize they have a little, they fill it so high that there's that on the top. Oops. And so you have to come down and sip the first sip. Jennifer, it's not a shot, okay? You want to sip it, all right? So be aware of that. Now, another mistake tourists make when they come to the Netherlands, specifically here in Amsterdam, is they don't pre-book tickets when they can. If you want to go to the Rijksmuseum, you got to pre-book your ticket. And they give you a 15-minute window to come in. You can have it already purchased and not worry about it. You can buy it weeks and months in advance, no big deal. Another one, the Anne Frank House, that books out because it's a small place, so therefore there's not a lot of space for tourists. So that books out sometimes weeks, months in advance. So do make sure you're pre-booking and doing that, because otherwise you're going to miss out. Because yes, sometimes you can get a last-minute ticket and it's not a big deal, but if you really want to go see some of these places and there is a pre-book option, don't make the mistake of not doing it, okay? So I hope this helps you know some of the mistakes that tourists make when they do come here to the Netherlands. What are some mistakes you see tourists make? Let us know in the comments below so we can help other travelers have a better time here in the Netherlands. And I'll say bye from here in Rotterdam.